again? Is that the deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
You do Facebook, I'll do LinkedIn.
We're live. Welcome to a whole bunch of Nudelberg.
Whole lot of Nudelberg going on here. Bonus session.
Surprised they even allow. Yeah, surprised I was even able to get some TV time. That they allowed me in here.
I'm just gonna.
Well, there's generally not enough oxygen, but we're letting you in. It's good.
This might turn out just to be you two talking the whole time, anyways.
I think you're gonna fight and claw your way into what we're doing.
I don't think it's ever really been an issue.
It never is. It never will be. We'll let some of the crowd roll in.
I'm interested to see what the engagement is on LinkedIn right now, because normally we're scheduled every day at 8. People know what's happening there. I'm interested to see what happens now that it's new.
So I know that Cheryl Clark is here, and so we can't have cocktails directly. We'll have cocktails indirectly. So thank you. I know Jenny.
Steve Nudelberg is live.
Yes, sir. Terry Hale's great. He's going another dose. Wow, 2 in a day.
You get to start and end the day with us. Love it.
So much good stuff. The reason for today, just so everybody knows, rules of the game. 1 sip, correct?
Charlie,
everybody knows the rules.
House. Charlie,
everybody knows the rules. 1 sip. Charlie, we need to have a cigar with Charlie is what we need to do. I missed that. So let me kind of preface what we're doing here. Every afternoon, I do a show called Tell Me Something Good. It's something I started at the beginning of March. It's a chapter in my book. It's the way to put good stuff back in the universe. And I've had some great guests, but none more relevant than my youngest son. You get to see me and Marc interact all the time, and I'm super blessed that gets to happen. But one of the real positives of this pandemic is that Jake is living with me again, which at 22 years old and living a great life as a student assistant for the Gator football team and doing the things he's doing, I never thought we'd have this time together. So we've had 2 months to reconnect, rebond, and the comments and the stuff that he's been able to say and do and see, I thought it was relevant to do this live. And so let's have a cocktail. Let's share some good stuff. Young Marc Nudelberg, you want to just jump in with a few of your words?
Yeah, shout out to the people that have joined us. Anna, great talking to you this morning. Charlie, we shouted out. Chaz is here for happy hour. Liana, Giselle is in here. James Barrett is here. So great to see everybody. Glad you're joining us. Scott Garber. So we got the whole family in here. And if you're in the group on LinkedIn, say hello, give us a shout so we know that you're there. And as we get into the conversations, please don't hesitate to fire away at questions. This is a true happy hour session. So we want to engage with everybody. But
there's going to be some.
I'm excited because my perspective is very different than my brother's perspective. I got to watch my dad build a business career my whole life, and then I went off on my own into coaching, whereas Jake got to see my dad in his career do what he did forever and reface at a time when social media was not the thing for adults or for business, and made it that way, and watch me build a football career and then transition out. So there's a lot of great conversation to be had here with you guys, and I'm excited about it.
And I think my big challenge today in this time that we're going to spend together is not to bawl my eyes out, because I hope everybody in their life get to experience what I'm experiencing right now. So kick off the question and answer. The reason why we're here is to get Jake's perspective. Jake, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell a little bit about what it's like to be in Nudelberg.
And tell us something good.
Exactly. He missed the whole point of the original show, but it's almost 5 minutes. I haven't said a word yet. That's impressive. I didn't know what the over-under would be for me getting my first word in. But honestly, and this is a joke and not, but tell me something good. I'm so happy I can get a haircut whenever I want again. It's been a long 2 months of Marc Nudelberg cutting my hair, which was a thing in itself. But it really has been a remarkable 2 months. That was completely unexpected. As everyone knows, I came home for Kai's birthday 2 months and brought a duffel bag. Had no idea that I was going to end up staying for 2 months. But it's honestly been one of the more fascinating times of my entire life. Not only because Marc took over as president, but really for the first time in my life, I took an initiative to really see what my dad did. And I've been able to see it firsthand, listening to calls, sitting in on different meetings. So it really has been rewarding, knowledgeable, and it's not something they teach in a classroom. So I've been really fortunate, to have you two in my life. For those of you guys who know us, you know how close we are, and I am pretty much a result of these two. Hopefully I took some of the better qualities. But yeah, happy to be here and happy to get peppered with questions and give my perspective.
So I will make sure that we keep some decorum here, because in full disclosure, we have great times together, but we're all so fucking competitive that it's like,
yeah, there's been one or two middle fingers thrown around this house in the last 2 months. So.
I mean, one of the best memories I have was when we were in New York at our favorite steakhouse, Benjamin Steakhouse, and we were having a great time. We left, we were all feeling pretty good, and you guys just went off on some conversation that turned out to be like, what are you guys doing, man? So Marc, I know you have a bunch of questions, so why don't you start firing away?
Yeah, so I think let's start with, I think, you've been privileged to, or it's been adverse or privileged, however you want to look at it. You've seen a lot of change in your life, starting from the time that you were a young child all the way through the time now, not just with the world, but your family life, your school, business, everything. There's been a lot of change that's happened to us in your 22, 21 years of life. So tell me your stance on change. How do you feel about it? How do you recognize it? How do you deal with it? What moves you through it? Give me your philosophy of change.
So you touched on, my life and the change and the family and the different jobs and all the different things that has happened. But to me, it's the most rewarding thing that's happened to me in my life. The one thing you can count on really throughout your life is that nothing will stay constant. I mean, 2 months ago, no one knew this was coming, and now everybody's had to change, go down new alleys, find new revenue and all the different things. Even my friends, had internships lined up and all that. Change is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things someone can have the ability to do. There's going to be forced change. There's going to be times that you choose to change, but sometimes forced change can be the best thing that happens to you, because change is the hardest thing, and people won't choose to change because they get comfortable and all the different things. And being surrounded by football, it's really relatable, because you play out a game plan, Monday through Friday, and the team comes out and does something different. You have to have the ability to change on a fly. And the players have to be, coaches have to be, in order to change your mindset and do different things to get different results.
So let's stay there for a second, because I think that brings up a good point. How are you able to adapt and change on a dime? Let's keep this in football for a second. What gives you the ability to change quickly when the environment or what you were expecting to happen doesn't happen? What gives you the ability to do that?
Trusting in your ability, having confidence in yourself.
Ooh, a doozy.
If you can't be confident in yourself doing the thing that you were prepared to do, there's no way you can be confident in changing to do something else. So a lot of people just become confident because they do something over, instead of just being confident in themselves, whether it's a new task, an old task, doesn't matter. The more times you do something, it obviously gets easier. But if you have that self-belief that no matter what it is that you can do it, then change is only the avenue, of what you're going to do, not the actual activity.
I love that. That's talking about the individual responsibility of how to be able to change. Do you think that simplicity has anything to do with it? Do you think that keeping your scheme or your philosophy or how you do things somewhat simple so that it's able to adapt faster has anything to do with it?
Yeah. Are you talking about in a football sense or in just an overall?
But I think it carries over. I'm asking
He's just,
you.
he's just trying to mess with you.
100%.
I'm meeting you.
100%. No,
I know where I want this to go, but I want, because look, let's talk about the two different coaching staffs that you were on. You went from a very complicated offense,
polar opposite,
complicated offense to a very simple offense.
I'll tell you,
and the offense went from being very bad to relatively good.
Very good. So been in two different, staffs, as you said, seen two different offensive coordinators run it completely different, run the programs completely different. And I remember my sophomore year, we go to Dallas to play Michigan, and where it's the first game of the season. So you're breaking film down for the previous year. So you're going off what you think they're going to run, never what it truly is, or it can be. And, but we come out, we were going to run an offense based on a certain defense they showed a large percentage of the time the year prior. Well, we come out in the first snap, and they are running a completely different defense that they showed once on film 2 years ago. Because of how our system was built, we had zero capability of changing. Players were lost. They knew it for that 1 week. That was it. They didn't really have an understanding of the offense and the different capabilities that we could do under the offense. So we were just schemed to run it that one way that entire week. And we ended up losing. It was kind of an embarrassment, whatever. 2 years later, we go to Georgia, and granted we lost, but after the end of the third drive, we said, none of this is working. Let's scrap it. Let's go back to what we do really well. And we were able to switch on a dime. And so that's really impressive and important that you understand your system and have an overall grasp on what your knowledge is so you can really apply it.
That you focus on what you do. Because if you focus on what you do and prepare what you do for everything that could happen to it, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. You're prepared to adapt and change because you're focused on doing what you do and how you do it. It's the same
100%.
to me. The people that try to do everything for everybody can't ever be great at anything because they don't have all the answers to the adjustments that need to be done. When they focus on go ahead.
So a lot of people grow up with the philosophy or were given the philosophy. You guys were not. Fake it till you make it. And that's complete bullshit because when you get there, you've been faking it the whole time. You don't really know it, Right. So I always drilled you guys, act as if you're the guy. What would you do? What would be your decision? What would you do, good or bad? You're not going to make the right decision all the time. But if you act as if, that's what people tend to follow too. One of you said in the beginning here, confidence. Confidence is one of the biggest, ingredients to success, because if you're not confident in yourself, why would anybody else be confident?
Go ahead, Jake.
What were you saying? I missed that part.
Confidence. Like you can't, 100%. You can't just say I'm confident.
100%.
Step into an arena of competition anywhere, 100%. Whether it's business or athletics, and be 100%. Confident. You get confidence from doing it over and over 100%. and over, and that's where it comes from.
100%. And so I think you're the perfect case study even. I mean, a year and a half ago, you were coaching football, and there's some things you held on dearly to what made you very successful in football, whether it was your process, your work ethic, and those things you hold most true to yourself and confident in that, you can take that to any profession and be like, look, I know what I can do and what I hold tight to me, and what's important to me is my work ethic and my process. You apply that to the things, whether it be business, whether it being a firefighter, whether it being a football coach. So it carries over. It carries over.
I think, Dad, you've given us the term, I'll outsell it. Whatever it is, I've always thought to myself, I could outsell it. Well, to me, I think my thought process, because I wasn't necessarily in sales early in my professional life, was I'll outwork it. Whatever it is, I can just outwork it. I can put in enough.
It's sort of the same.
Correct.
It's sort of the same. Right.
Right. Which I think
what I meant was, like, when I consult with people, they come to me and they go, hey, we got this problem. What do you think we should do? And I go, if you can't outsell it, light a match to it. It's over. Right. So, one of the cool things about Jake being home, and it was like sort of forced for him to see the business. There isn't anybody that didn't take a torpedo in this thing.
Right.
I mean, I had a business that was robust, full of pipeline development, tons of great clients, everything like on major autopilot. I was supposed to speak 5 times in April, shit can that done, he's here and he's watching it. And, there are those that sit and watch it happen and those that say, okay, what do I need to do to make something happen? And so, Jake, I'd like your comments on how you saw, well, first of all, your brother joining April 1st, which was, it's April Fool's Day. Yeah, you're a fool. And most importantly, how you saw, what's your take on how we reacted? Because I think it's the best takeaway for everything.
Oh, we lost your sound for a minute. Did your pods die?
We lost.
We can't hear you.
Nothing.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
It's okay. Technology. Did you hear the question or no?
Did. Repeat it for me, please.
Okay. So
There we go.
One of the unique things about what happened is you saw the business on overdrive for all of these years, things going great. You were here to experience this torpedo that the pandemic did to every business. So I want your perspective of how what did it show you? What did it mean to you? I have to stop for a quick shout out. So many great people here. Andy Yaffa says hello to you guys.
Indeed.
Some great folks that are here. Carrie Shiffries is here. Mark, that was your first client when you were
first client on the ball when it was a marketing agency.
So anyway, Jake, jump in and share your perspective of how you saw us deal with adversity, us deal with change, all that kind of stuff.
So it was funny you bring this up because me and Mark were talking about this earlier. Back in, I don't remember the exact year, before I went to college, and really had to be 6 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever you really pivoted out of true on the ball or what it used to be and morphed it into what it is now. You used to be the only one posting on Facebook and all these social medias constantly, all the time.
All the time.
Like, I was like, dude, he posts.
We would be texting each other. We would be texting each other like, this guy doesn't stop. Like, what is he?
I'm making a girl. You got it. And it really, it's fascinating and it's interesting how the world is going, that everything is publicized now, that you are ahead of the game. So it's really been interesting to see people who refuse to go that route. And it has obviously become more clear in the last few years, that's where the world is going, all digital, that you were there so early and willing to make the change. And now everybody is kind of trying to play catch up, where you're leading the pack or have already been leading the pack. So it's been really interesting to see people, which I said, force change. Now they're like, okay, now I have to do it. So it's been really interesting to see, I guess, how the older population has been so unwilling to
it's
go.
A good point.
Like my entire life has been digital. For all I remember is I had Facebook when I was 12. Like I'm whatever, I can go back from posts from 10 years ago. And
I made this comment to somebody a couple days ago. I've grown up with Facebook. Like, Facebook was around as soon as I went to college, but Facebook and social media has always been a social time thing since social media, but it's always been like a toy or like something that was optional. It's never been business. And now, obviously, what are we talking about? Corona Light?
Kevin Kodish, who, hello, brother. He said, are you drinking a Corona? He goes, Light is safer. I was like, I have Corona.
But, obviously, Dad, you've been doing it for years and years, the same as Gary Vee. Gary Vee obviously publicizes it across the world, but social media is a business. Like, social media, like what you do with your social media, I grew up with it as a toy. You were taking pictures of your friends and what you did the night before, and it was just something that was a college fun thing. It's completely pivoted now to where it is the distribution channel for your message and personal brand.
Well, for me, I've always been a sales and marketing guy. I was one of those guys that had a dual brain that I said, okay, if I'm selling, I got to market at the same time. What happened and what I saw happening, and I'm grateful that I did see it, was that I saw that the name on the building was going to be less relevant than my name. Every deal I ever did, someone made a decision whether they liked me or not. And most people in life are really caught up in who likes them and who doesn't. I don't give a shit. This is who I am. I taught you guys that in order to be Nudelberg, you got to be tough. You got to be willing to take the licks. And you know what? You're going to get knocked down every time you get up. You'll get up stronger. And so I just said, hey, listen, if there's a better way for me to promote me, I almost was like dumbfounded in the beginning. I go, what do you mean? Like I could, for free, create my own People magazine. I'm the star of my own movie and people will pay attention. So it'd be really funny because people would come up to me and they go, friends of mine, they go, wow, man, you post all the time. And I go, so let me ask you one question. I go, did you see it? And they go, yeah. I go, I won. I'm done. My point was that you would see it. So
James asked a question you're kind of answering, but I want to make sure that you get the question exactly. James says, what made you such an early adopter? Did you see others having success or was it experimental and just worked out? And you touched on it.
But you know what? I'm really fortunate that the big bump in my career was in the cell phone business. I saw that curve go from very few to everybody. Malcolm Gladwell writes a book. It's my favorite book outside of my own book, obviously. But the tipping point was the law of few creates the law of everybody. There are early adopters. There are people who recognize trends, who are willing to take a chance. And so the phone business educated me on, in the beginning, my strategy was only to get to the top 5% of the population. It kept dipping down and dipping down as more people adopted it, as the price came down. When it was for everybody, I got out. I said, this is not fun anymore. Everybody looked at me and they go, where are you going? Like, how could you leave the cell phone business? And I was like, it's done. It's a commodity. It's for everybody. That's when I started On the Ball. But, the reality is,
same thing with On the Ball as a marketing agency too, though.
I did the exact same thing with
the exact same thing.
Right. So the point is that Jake watched all this. What's that? It's paying attention to details. It's having confidence when people will ridicule you. Where did we watch this morning? Somebody sent us something that Matthew McConaughey posted about being embarrassed. Yep. You know what? When you were a kid in school and you had to give a speech, all of us got, tingles that like, oh my God, I'm nervous. Like my fly will be open or I'll embarrass myself. I'm not afraid of embarrassing myself. I want to go out there and do that. I think I gave that to you guys when you got your first job, on the field, Mark. You were in new territory. I didn't lead you there. You led yourself. You didn't have any role model ahead of you. Now you're well respected with all those people. Jake sort of took all of the best of both of us and said, okay, you know what? I can be me, which is, I think, the hardest thing for you, Jake. And this is my big question is, how do you be you in a sea of Nudelberg?
It's a great question.
I've definitely been morphed. It'd be dumb to say I wasn't, not in a negative way. I did my own thing growing up most of my life. I was never really pushed by anybody or anything. I was comfortable in my own skin and continue to be, and that's one of my favorite qualities, that I'm really willing to pick my friends and who I want to hang out with and what I want to do. And I think that comes from you guys, Mark is my best friend. I'm not, we do speak 24/7. But it is hard living up to that.
Wait. I thought I was your best friend.
Truth comes out this hour, happy hour, Let that one slip. Don't lie, you were a little offended. It's okay.
No, I'm not.
But
So
it's
I want to get to the question. Like, so how do you be you? Like, because it's so amazing to me because you got the benefit of seeing my career and Dad's career, and you've always just chosen what you want to do. So number one, I would say, do you know what you want to do? And number two, how do you go about finding it?
Not at all. Either good or bad. I know a lot of my friends are pushed to do things by their parents, you know. I don't think I've ever really been pushed to do anything other than when I was 7 and I got forced to sign the paper to play football.
I did that.
Other than that, I don't think I've ever been really dragged to do anything. Was a basketball guy, and Marc said you're playing football, and lo and behold, in August, I had a helmet on. So
we were walking off the basketball court at the YMCA, and the Western set up for football signups, and I was like, "Oh, come on, we're gonna go sign up for football."
Not even sure my dad signed up for it. Brothers signed up. They were like, "Sure, we just need participants," you know. But you guys have set an unbelievably high bar, which I wouldn't want in any other way. It gives me something that pushes me, just like Marc is drove by Dad and what Dad does. It eats him alive, and we are the most competitive human beings on this earth. I mean, me and Marc were playing Guitar Hero last week, and we're looking at each other as it's getting to the end, like, "Oh, come on." You know? There's nothing in our lives that we really don't do competitive. And I mean, Jordan, which I have the poster behind me, is the ultimate competitor, and I've just been engulfed with the whole documentary because he was just such a specimen, and everything he did was to be the greatest basketball player. And he had things that drove him, just like I have things that drive me, and I'm very competitive, and I would like to be better than both of you. So the bar that you guys set is only a benchmark and something to go chase, and you guys started the race, you know, and so it's just me winning the race. But
when you were a kid, I remember this very succinctly, that you were like, I said, "Hey, don't you want a friend to come over and hang with you and sleep over?" And you were like, "No."
I'm like, I'm a weird kid.
What?
It made me sound like I was some weird kid with no friends here.
Yeah, you had no friends. You played Xbox.
You were just unbelievably choosy about how and when you spent your time, and I found that to be such a unique skill that early, that you just were able to decide, "Hey, listen, I'm cool just being with me,"
Yeah.
And I was that dad that like said, "Oh, come on, don't you, let's go. I'm always the group guy." And you were like, "Nope," and you've sort of plotted your life that way. When I wrote in the book, about you hitting curveballs, why don't you tell that story? I mean, that's just sort of,
like everybody, everyone got shit that they went through in their life. You have an event or multiple events that shapes who you are and what you do and how you act. I was young, massive family issues, didn't understand really anything going on. So how do you explain to a 5-year-old that the life that he knows is no longer exists? He said life is like learning how to hit a curveball. And he also told me a story to make me feel better about how he sucked at baseball and couldn't hit curveballs. But you never know where the curveball is going to come. You don't know where it's going to land. You don't know where you're supposed to swing. And it's been a motto that I've held near and dear to my heart my entire life. And you don't choose your upbringing, you're just kind of given, but it made me who I am. All three of us have been through shit together separately. And it's led us to this point right here where I don't know I would change a whole lot, so it's just dealing with the curveballs. We're all going to get one. We're going to get one in another 3 months, understanding that they're coming all the time. Not be afraid of them, encourage them, have the ability to change and just keep rocking, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep moving.
What was so unique for me in the time that I told you that is I said, listen, everybody in life at some point has to learn to hit a curveball. You got yours younger than anybody. And I looked at you and I said, tough shit. It is what it is.
And then the next day I was at a meeting. It was like, smile, head up, eyes, contact.
That's
So
one thing.
why don't both of you, so this is cool. I didn't realize it would go here, but why don't both of you talk about what it was like going to games with me? Because when our company was a sports marketing company, Mark and you, Jake,
I think a sports marketing company. I mean, even when you were at ABC Cellular, like we were always so well connected to everybody in sports, and you were always so well connected and well known. You started investing in your portfolio of relationships early in your life. So even at that time, like I've used this with so many people, like going to a game was never actually going to a game. Like it was a networking event. It would take us the first half of a basketball game just to get to our seats, because just walking up to the building, we had to stop 75 times to say hello and have a conversation with somebody. Getting into the building, walking across, the all of the different, levels of the stadium, stopping.
We got to go to the suite level. We got to go to this suite, this suite, this suite.
Oh, you got to work. You got to work the club level. Like, like 7 years old, I learned how to work the club level.
But you know what? So let's bring it home for everybody that's watching, which the audience is amazing. Rocco is listening in. Gary O'Neill. Great to have you guys. Let's bring it home for people. Like, so what lessons did both of you learn from all of that early stuff that's affecting your life now?
I'll let you go, Jake.
Always show up. Always have your best face on, no matter what the fuck is going on in the house. House could be on fire. You could have the worst night. No, like, seriously, like, always show up. Doesn't matter. Whatever. And, it goes back to the Godfather scene. Don't let anyone outside the family know what you're thinking. But it's real. I mean, when it's time to show up, you always show up. It doesn't matter. And nobody cares, and that's something I learned really early, and which I'm fortunate for. But that's one takeaway was always show up. Doesn't fucking matter.
I mean, when we talk about that genre of movies, Godfather, all three of them, Bronx Tale, we watched Goodfellas last night. There's so many lessons that are all around you. That was an important lesson, because I think most people show up and they bring their dirty laundry with them, and that's what they lead with. Oh, this shit is happening. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to know. People. That's how I wrote the chapter in my book about being in the zone. Is that nobody cares what's going on in your life. You're there to take care of their life. So it's Mark. Any comment on that?
It's awesome. I mean, the fact that he pulled that nugget was so good, because that's such a great one, and it's so true. And that's how we lived our whole life. Was just you gotta and you gotta be there. Like we always found a way to be at the thing, at the event, at that place, whatever was happening that you knew it was the place to be. We always found a way to be there, no matter what. And I think
for each other as well. I mean,
and people hear this from me all the time, obviously, because we talk about it on a daily basis. But it's all about who you know. It's all about your relationship capital. And before Jake was around and it was just me, I just remember being like, how does he know somebody everywhere all the time for everything? Like, oh, you want to do that? Let me call this guy. Oh, you want to do that? Oh, you got a nail in your tire? Let me get this guy. I never took care of anything myself. I always had to tell you what was wrong so that we could call the guy who we knew to take care of whatever it was that had to happen. And so I think, understanding the value of relationships early on in my life, which I had no idea would exactly be the reason that I was successful in football, because I had no business being a college football coach. I had a high school playing background that was very limited. I had the last name Nudelberg, which when you walk into Florida State University and the coaching staff and you say Nudelberg,
Bobby Bowden could never say Nudelberg, could he?
So in a point where the only thing that got me through was my work ethic and the ability to build the relationships with guys on staff that then got me another job and got me another job and got me another job. And I referenced this a couple times already, but I talked about it with Brian Polian, which the episode will drop on Monday. But the reason Brian Polian wanted to hire me is because I sat at a table with him for 2 hours and just was genuine and real with him. I didn't goo and gaga that he was Bill Polian's son or that he was the head coach at Nevada. I was unemployed. I had gotten fired from Cincinnati. I was looking for a job, but I wasn't hunting him for a job. I got introduced to him. I sat down at a table. We drank beers. We had real conversation. We were real people. And a year later, he hired me as a special teams coordinator. And it just, the value of relationships, and you just never know how long or how far they're going to carry you.
It's interesting you say that, like genuine, because not in one class, not in one business course I've taken at the University of Florida have they ever taught just be yourself. It's always being this uptight, someone you're not. Like if you look at all my friends and all the people I know from UF and their LinkedIn pages, you know, it's them partying on their Instagram and then like super, you know, suited up, nothing, like having who they are, what they do. And it's really been interesting to see the change in the business world, you know, the Gary V's, the you, and all these people who are now preaching this message. Like, you need to be yourself. Yourself is more important than anything you've done or your degree or anything. Like, people hire people. They don't hire resumes, you know? So it being yourself, and people are afraid to be themselves.
Look at this guy, man. That's unbelievable. Dropping the bombs, man. Dropping the bombs, man.
One of my observations, and like people are afraid to be who they are, you know? And if you two are the most evident human beings, you know, evidence for the whole thing. I mean, you guys preach what you guys honestly believe on a daily basis, and I hate blowing smoke up your guys' ass. Like I said, I'm a competitive human, and I have to deal with you guys off screen, which is like twice the chaos. But seriously, it is wild, the changing, you know, of the guard, you should say, of business and the different tactics that can be used.
So you've been back home for 2 months.
Too long.
Probably go back June 1st, maybe June 15th.
SEC May 22nd.
What's that?
The SEC votes May 22nd when to decide.
Oh, is that right? They vote. What is your overall take on what happened to the world? I mean, you know, there's so many different views. There's so many different things. I'm just curious, as a 22-year-old guy looking at the world, what comes to mind for you?
Unlike anything I could have ever expected.
I would scope it like this, Jake. How do you see the world moving forward? And like, what is your perspective as a 22-year-old? A lot of people graduated already in your class and are entering the workforce that is going to be more saturated than it ever has been in the history of the economy. So, like, what does it look like for you at 22 entering a world where there's a lot of really experienced people out there, and what happens going forward?
So this is, and I don't know, you guys can speak differently, one of the most crazy events of your life, right?
Yeah,
sure. Is just in general, right? Yeah, so for me, how I look at it is happening at 22 for all these people. And right now you look at it in the closed thing, like, oh my God, I have to find a job. How am I going to find a job in this? They are going to get through this. It's going to end. There are going to be jobs. So if it took, 60 years for you, Dad, where there's been events along the way, but nothing quite like this, 11 and a couple other things, nothing is prolonged, I guess. It took 60 years for something to happen. It's been 33. Sorry, I don't want to add years. Yeah, yes, I had to do the math real quick. It took 33 years for it to happen to you. It's happening at a point where they can afford it to happen for a lot of them. There's no set plan. There wasn't a set plan anyways, and so if the biggest event and this big change happens to them at such a young age, it's only going to benefit them to be able to handle the events that come later, and I understand it's hard, and I'm fortunate.
Look.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate enough, I have the optimistic look because I'm fortunate enough to be going back, and working. But I truly believe that if I wasn't, that, like I said, the ability to change, and the quicker you learn,
change people's priorities at your age. I know that when I graduated, everybody's priority was money. How quickly can I get to a 6-figure job so I can get a car and the house and all that? Do you think that this will change your generation's priorities of maybe I'm more focused on doing something that I'm passionate about and that I want to do, as opposed to going and chasing the paycheck?
So it's interesting. Like, those ones will still exist. But I see a lot more individuality in my generation, I guess.
Being an entrepreneur is cool now.
And just the world is changing, I guess, is more accepting of different people and who you are, of all just entirety, So I think that the ones that are going to want the money and all that are going to do it still. But I think it's already moved so much from the generic, get out of school, go make money, go do this, and it still exists. But I think there's already been a giant shift where that's not really the focus anymore, at least from the people that I know and stuff like that. I mean, they obviously want a nice paycheck and all that, but I don't think there's as big of a rush now to do it. Gary Vee preaches it all the time. I mean, he's a huge.
I think that helps with the shift. I think that helps. Becoming an entrepreneur became sexy.
Correct. And that's
grinding to get to a spot.
And that's going to weed out a lot of people, obviously. Yeah. But I think the rush to get out of college, do this is kind of dying. I think parents are more accepting of that not being a reality anymore.
They're not traditional roles.
Yeah. I still know parents that push kids to do finance and everything. And they come home every day and they're like, I'm miserable, dude. I go, yeah, you're going to have to put on a suit and tie every day and go do this. Like, that, right? Paid well. I'm like, yeah, but you're miserable and you haven't even started working. I go,
it's unbelievable, right?
Why would you do that?
So why don't we throw this out to everybody? We got a pretty big audience. I'm doing Facebook. You guys are doing LinkedIn. Yep. If there's any questions that anybody has for any one of us, please chuck it at us. We'd be happy to answer it.
If Jeff would be still here, Jeff was looking for Andy. Andy's on the Facebook side of things. So, Jeff, if you want to go to the Facebook group, that's where you'll find Andy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we're able. Jake, your friend Drew Marsh is on Facebook. He's awesome. John Batista's here. Yeah. So the old crowd.
Brought some people to the party.
In closing, Marc, any last questions, any last thoughts? Just for everybody to know, we would have done this anyway. We decided to go live to allow you guys into it. We do this regularly. We're, super blessed that we actually like each other, but we are still happy to kick each other's ass.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. I mean, the fact that you guys would hang out with us in this virtual world, and even though we're not even face to face here, we can just see your names and comments and stuff. I'm really thankful that everybody chooses to spend not only their mornings with us, but this Friday afternoon with us. So thank you so much for that. I can't begin to express how thankful I am that not only do I have one brother here, but I have my other brother in the LinkedIn group who went through just as many hardships with me. I think we kicked each other's ass just as much as Jake and I have, and super proud of him as well. So to be able to bring in just all of the family here to have this conversation, I'm just thankful and blessed, and really, really grateful that everybody is here to spend the time with us.
Really, really well said. What's really cool is that when people actually meet us, they go, wow, man, you really like what we see on social media. And they're like,
this is great. So shout out to Anna Caver, I think is how you pronounce it. But Anna reached out to me to have a 15-minute virtual cup of coffee. And she said to me this morning, she goes, I see you every morning. So I tell people you're my best friend, but then I realized that you don't even know me. So I wanted to have this 15-minute virtual cup of coffee so you could know me just as well as I know you. And I was like,
wow,
bang.
Wow.
And
Slam dunk.
The invitation is open to everybody. Like, that's the whole point of this group, is that you connect with each other. I connect with you. We all connect so that we all know each other and we can all help each other.
And for those of you who aren't, please connect with me. I'm trying to grow my network every day, so add
Sure,
me.
The truest thing
Every
is
day for LinkedIn, but I'm getting there. Learning like
the truest thing is, and you guys, for me, this was my hope that you got, and I believe that you did, is that the more your network actually equals your net worth, and so we've had incredible events in our life, good and bad, that we had great people to share it with, and when it was bad, we knew the right person to call. Mark, you know better than anybody. Andy Yaffa was the one call I made.
Yep.
Bam, we were taken care of. So if you really genuinely invest your life in the people around you, with, oh, by the way, the word sales comes from a Scandinavian word that means to serve. We legitimately serve each other. We always have. We enjoy each other's company. We bust each other's balls every day. But the places we've gone, what we've done together. Jake, your mother's on the Facebook group, so give a big shout out to your mom. Anybody out there that's hurting, the stuff we do every day, we're legitimately here to help. It's what our mission is. It's what we're programmed to do. We love, the fact that we can do it, that we're committed to it, but somebody needs you to call them. Somebody needs you to reach out. Do that. And that's what my boys do. And I'm super proud of both of you guys.
Awesome. Amen. This was fun.
Happy Friday, guys.
See you guys.
Love you.
Everybody be good. Stay on the ball.